Welcome dear students, my name is DN Sukla and today in this video I am going to explain section 1. The name of the chapter is The Inexperienced Ghost. I am going to explain this chapter in our today's video. Dear student, this story adapted from the story of The Inexperienced Ghost by H.G. Wells. So firstly, I would like to tell you something about the writer H.G. Wells. Dear student, his full name is Herbert George Wells. He was born 21st September 1866 in England and died 13th August 1946 in England. Dear student, his occupation was novelist. He was a teacher, historian, and he was a great journalist. He wrote dozens of novels, short stories, and works of social commentary, history, biography, and autobiography. Dear student, Wells is known, best remembered for his science fiction novels, and he is often called the father of science fiction. So, this is a brief introduction about the writer of the chapter The Inexperienced Ghost. Now, we are going to start the chapter. In this extract, a man narrates his encounter with a ghost. A man met in a club with a ghost during night, and he was sharing his experiences, his conversation with the ghost among his friends. So, read on to find out what he experiences. I will read the story and I will explain it. You need to be attentive and listen it very carefully. Dear student, now I am going to start. We met at Saturday at the club. The narrator is informing us that they met that Saturday at the club. There was a club and all the friends were gathered there and talking about their experience with the ghost. One of the friends, whose name is Clayton, was narrating the story. Clayton had slept there overnight, and Clayton was sleeping at the club for the night. Clayton said, "Do you know I was alone here last night? Well, I caught a ghost." Clayton informed his friends that he was at the club during night and he met with a ghost. "Caught a ghost, did you?" said Sanderson. "Where is it?" Sanderson asked in surprise that had you met with a ghost, and further asked about the place that where he met with that ghost. And Evans shouted, "Tell us all about it right now." And one of his friends named Evans, who shouted to Clayton and asked to share, to narrate all about the ghost right now. "I don't think it will come again ever," said Clayton. And Clayton further informed their friends that he didn't think it, that the ghost would come again. Then Sanderson asked, "You mean you didn't keep it?" Sanderson asked to Clayton that his mean that he had not keep that kept that ghost. Then we laughed and Clayton looked offended. And then the except Clayton, all the friends laughed upon him and Clayton feel herself irritated. It really was a ghost, I'm not joking, and informed his friends that that was a really ghost. He was not joking about ghost. You talked to it? Asked Wiss. One of his friends named Wiss, who asked that did Clayton talk with the ghost? Then he replied for an hour. He talked with that ghost for an hour. I saw him in the long passes. Clayton saw the ghost in the long road or passes, and he was transparent. Through his chest I could see the glimmer of the little window at the end. And Clayton informed his friends that the ghost was transparent and he could see the glimmer of the little window at the end through the chest of the ghost. It indicated that the ghost was transparent. He looked as though he didn't know what he was meant to do, and the ghost was looking confused, that he was not clear. He was unable to understand that what he was meant to do. He was lean. Now Clayton was telling about the appearance of the ghost. The ghost was lean. He had a small head. His head was small with scrubby hair, and his hair was very short and narrow shoulders. His shoulders were narrow. His short jacket had a turn down collar, and he was wearing a short jacket which had a turn down collar. Turn down collar means a collar worn folded down as on a formal shirt. This style was not considered formal in the 19th, and the trousers were a little frayed at the heels. His trousers were with threads that are starting to come apart at the heels. I saw him as I came up, and Clayton informed his friends that when he came up, he saw that ghost. I stopped dead at that. Clayton stopped after watching the ghost, taking him in, and he was taking the ghost. I wasn't a bit afraid. I was surprised and interested. He was not afraid after watching the ghost. He was surprised and he was interested to know about the ghost. I suppose he realized I was there, and Clayton supposed it that the ghost realized his presence. He turned and I saw the face of a young man. Then the ghost turned toward him, and Clayton saw the face of a young man. We stood and regarded one another. They both stood and wished one another. Then he turned around. Then the ghost turned around, drew himself up, raised his arm, and came toward me. After that, the ghost turned around, drew himself, and the ghost raised his arm and came toward Clayton. His little jaw dropped, and he imitated a faint, drawn out bow. Then the ghost was tried to scare Clayton and drawn out bow. I was not frightened. Clayton was not frightened with the ghost. Bow, I said, nonsense. You don't belong here. What are you doing here? Then Clayton replied him nonsense and asked him that what he was doing there. He moved a little and said, I am a ghost. Then confused and awkward, I am hunting, he said. After that the ghost moved a little and said to Clayton that he was a ghost, and then he looked confused and awkward and replied that he was hunting. That may be, but you cannot hunt here. Clayton replied to the ghost that you may be doing that work, but you could not, the ghost could not hunt at that place. This is a club. People often stay here with children. Some poor little child could be scared out of her wits. Then Clayton replied to the ghost that that was a club and people often stayed there with their children, and some poor little child could be scared out of the wits of the ghost. I suppose you didn't think of that. And Clayton informed the ghost he supposed that the ghost had not thought about that. That place was a club. No, sir, he said, I didn't. The ghost replied that he did not understand that was a club. Coming here was a mistake, I said. Clayton further said to the ghost that it was his mistake to come that place. In a tone of friendly superiority, Clayton was showing himself friendly and superior than that ghost, and said, if I were you, I had vanished right now. And what he said, that if Clayton was a ghost, he had vanished just now, right now. He looked embarrassed. Then the ghost looked embarrassed. The fact is, sir, that somehow I can't. And the ghost was trying to say something and he was unable to say. Mean to say, he was trying to say that he could not at that place. You can't. No, sir. I have been here since midnight. And Clayton also replied him that the ghost further replied to Clayton that no, sir, he had not been there since midnight. He had been there since midnight. There's some little thing that was slipped me and I can't get back. The ghost informed to Clayton that he had some little thing that had slipped from him at that place and he could not get back that. Then in next paragraph, Clayton said, come into my room and tell me more about it. I said, and then I tried to take him by the arm But of course, you might as well have tried to take hold of a puff of smoke. Then what happened? Clayton asked the ghost to come into his room and to tell him more about it. And then he was going to hold the ghost by his arm, and when he tried to catch the ghost by his arm, he held only a puff of smoke because he was transparent. He was bodiless. He was looking in a body, but no one could touch the body. Here we are, I said, and sat down in the chair in my room. And he said to the ghost that they were in the room, and asked him to sit on the chair in his room, sit down and tell me all about it. He asked the ghost to sit down and to tell. Dear students, the rest of the story will be narrated in next part. I hope you are enjoying the story. This is a very interesting story of ghost. So thank you very much for watching this video, and in our next part we will start the remaining part of the story. Thank you very much.